What is going on, y'all? Welcome to the second episode of In Bed with the Tillias. I'm Nick.
And I'm Courtney.
So in the first episode, we talked about where it all started, how it began, how we got rid of Courtney's fiance, and we left off right before our first time.
Oh,
so
that's right.
We've been dating beginning of January of that year. That's 2011?
Yes.
2011. And we'd basically been inseparable. We worked together, so we started even riding to work together. We stayed the night together all the time.
Yes.
Nights I didn't have my girls, I was over at her place, or she was at mine. Nights that I had my girls, she would come over after they went to sleep, and we would stay the night. She'd get up and leave. She actually didn't meet my girls. Well, she'd met my girls. They knew of her.
As a teacher, they didn't know me as dating their dad.
Yeah, it was a few months in.
Yeah.
When you were introduced to him. We'll get to
Not
that.
even a couple, well, yeah.
No, it was, because it was April.
It was April when I met him
Yep.
first. Okay.
In the context of...
We're moving in.
Not quite there, but it was pretty fast after, yeah. Alright, so we're dating, there was a lot of intimacy between us.
Yeah.
Great makeout sessions, hot and steamy. A lot of dry humping on the couch. You're getting off.
I loved it.
I'm absolutely dying. It was fun though. It was
a lot of fun.
It was good to kind of play in that realm.
More fun for me than you?
Yeah, you had a lot more fun than me. No, obviously it was fun. Obviously, I would have first night, but it was clear that there was a level of trust that had to be established for you.
Yeah.
I was in it for the long run anyway, so as long as it took, I was going to be there. There was never I don't think a forceful moment. There was no guilt for cutting things off after certain points. And it just progressed really nice and natural.
Yeah, I
and
did.
Organic.
Yeah.
So we get into February.
Wait, I have one story that always pops into my mind. When we talk about this, intimacy and the dry humping, there was one night, I think we had come home from White House, this bar, and we were going
When I say dive bar, it doesn't even go to explain this. but our friends used to DJ there and shit. It was
fun.
It was a great place.
We always had a great time.
And it was walkable from her apartment.
Yeah. So we were making out, dry humping on the couch. I got off, and you rolled onto the floor.
Off the couch onto the floor.
And I think when we talk about this, I always envision you rolling off on top of me onto the floor, and we're like,
ah!
Yeah. Do you remember that?
Yeah. And you told me afterwards too. You always assumed I was getting off as well.
Yeah. I don't know why. That was dumb thought.
It was clean. There was nothing happening there.
I know. I'm sorry about that.
That's right. It was worth it.
Okay, so we did that for a little bit, and then it was a couple days.
In this time too, this is what Courtney's doing literally everything to try to sabotage the relationship unconsciously.
My dog had ticks really bad, like they get all big like a raisin, nasty.
They're full of blood because they've been sucking on them for a while.
I don't even know how I got this bad. And I needed to tick dip him in the bathtub and pull him all off and get him in a good place. And he was a big German Shepherd, just fluffy as fucking could be. And so I called Nick and asked if he would help me. And he fucking got in that nasty water.
I think I was in the shower or something. I was about to go to the gym or play ball or something. And I was like, say less. I'll be right there. So I was over within 5 or 10 minutes and find myself knee deep in this nasty ass tick dip water with Brody and Courtney, pulling these ticks off, squishing them in our fingers so that they die. They explode because they have so much blood in them. And Monty can't even stand it.
She's
out.
I can't.
I'm out.
I can't. I don't want to talk about ticks.
Disgusting. What did you think when I'm sitting in there doing that shit with you?
What a great man. No, I was so grateful that you came over to help me because it's hard to do it by yourself, but I also always loved that's a big thing about a relationship from the beginning is it's always been like, no matter what it is we're doing, like, it's always great doing it with you.
It's always fun. Even in very, like, adverse, difficult situations. I remember driving one of your kids home with you in this old beat-up car that we had, an iceberg or something like that is what we called it at the school, who had a seizure.
Oh, that's what I thought.
And so we took him home.
That was such
obviously
a moment.
there was lots of chaos at the school all the time.
Yeah.
And we just always, we thrived and bonded in those kind of chaotic
always have.
moments. And we could always laugh through them too, which was the beautiful thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, she's doing that. Same time, she's going to Bible study with somebody every single week. That didn't always sit well with me, but I wasn't in a place in our relationship where I could really felt like I could vocalize that, and so we rolled along with it. But you did so much shit to try to sabotage us early on.
Yeah.
Understanding it now is a lot of like the feminine just testing the masculine to make sure that they were solid, that they weren't there for the wrong reasons. And I just kept showing up no matter what.
Did. You were consistent always, no matter what I threw out there.
Yeah. You
were consistent and unwavering.
That's how you do it, fellas. There was a time too, it was a Tuesday night, because I remember I never like gave up nights with my girls. But for whatever reason, they wanted to hang out at my mom's anyway, so I took them over there to stay with my mom, and I met you and some coworkers at this Mexican restaurant.
Yeah.
It was a Tuesday night, a work night, and started with margaritas.
I don't know, this isn't a good story to tell. Okay.
It's gotta be told. Started with margaritas, and then we just keep the night going. And
let's keep it going.
Let's keep it going. Drive around in my car, my Ultima at the time. Drive to Tempe. We go to Fat Tuesdays. There's like body shots on the bar. Courtney's bragging about how she can get guys to buy drinks for her, and is just flirting with these guys to get drinks. Another thing that, like, a lot of guys probably would have been turned off by or whatever, and I was just like, whatever, cool, she's open, she can get whatever she wants. Just embraced it about her. Me and the other guy almost got in a fight with somebody outside. It was just a wild night. So much fun, though. There's this guy that comes running up as we're getting into our car.
This moment.
And he's like, fuck. He's like, the police are after him. You gotta help me. So I'm like, jump on in. So
Sat this guy between me and my girlfriend.
But there was two guys. We had eyes on him. He was good. But we helped him escape the cops. No idea what he had done. And dropped him off somewhere or whatever. Night was wild.
In for it with the alcohol at that point. So I don't even remember. I just remember me and the girlfriend looking at each other and being like, this guy's escaping the cops, but sitting in between us in the back seat.
We were aiding and abetting. We were total accomplices, but it worked out. It was wild. And I remember we were calling like coworkers and texting them at like midnight on our way back, or it was probably even later than that. What are you guys doing? Hey, what's up? and so everyone at work the next day is like, what the fuck were you guys doing? But anyways, we're all trashed. I definitely should not have driven. That's probably the one time I've ever driven where I should not have. Worked out though. I don't condone that. No. I apologize. I atone for it. But anyways, Courtney and I go to work the next day.
Wait, you skipped an important detail.
What?
I kissed you for the first time.
Yeah, she did. She kissed me for the first time outside of Fat Tuesdays on Mill. It got interrupted, but it was the first time. Anyway, so at some point, I drop all of them off at Courtney's place. I go to home, get dressed, showered, and come back to pick you up. And her and I go to work, and the other two don't. The other two cannot make it to work that day. So everyone's asking us, where are these two at? Why are they not at work? Why are you guys putting on movies for your kids all day?
Why is it movie day? Yeah. Why does Courtney look like she has makeup on top of makeup? Like
it was rough.
It was not a good choice.
Not my best moment as a, I guess, essentially like an assistant principal back
as
then.
As a teacher.
But for those of you that ever want to know what your teachers were doing or are doing, teachers are fucking wild. They need to be. They need to cut
They need an outlet.
Have fun. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was that. But it's actually February 17th.
Yeah.
Is this the same day that I said I love you? Did that all happen in the same day?
I think it did.
It all seems like it's the same day to me. Okay, so we go out. We go to Oregano's. Shout out Oregano's.
Love Oregano's.
Again, we need sponsors for the show, so hello. Do our thing there. Go back to her house, and I've been feeling this for a while, but finally, just like an overwhelming sense of like I want to tell her. So I tell her that night when we're laying on the couch, making out, whatever. I'm in love with you. I didn't say I love you. I said I'm in love with you. And didn't know if she would say it back. Didn't know if that's where she was. Kind of assumed she was. Still a little scary. And she said it back.
Yeah. I was genuinely feeling that. I didn't just say it.
It was like intense. It was like nothing I'd ever felt. I just answered this question on Instagram the other day, but I've been in love with 5 women over my lifetime. There was nothing that rivaled this feeling that I felt. So anyways, we're making out on the couch after that.
Watching Griswold's Christmas Vacation.
Yes. And to me, like, this is going to go like any other night. Courtney's going to get hers. I'm going to roll off onto the ground, and that's it.
Uh-huh.
And all of a sudden, Courtney stops kissing me, and she goes, I want you inside me.
Yep.
And I was like, oh, shit. And very coolly, though, I said, say the word. And that was it. And we went upstairs to her bedroom. The connection, the intimacy, it was making love. Like, it was not fucking, it was not just sex. It was making love. It was so intimate, so beautiful. Our chemistry was incredible. I remember just, like, being absolutely blown away at the connection and the interaction of our bodies and just the natural chemistry that we had, the rhythm, everything fit well. It was absolutely perfect.
Perfect.
And then again the next morning too.
And every day since.
And literally every day since.
Minus like a week and a half after giving birth, but that's about it.
Weekend.
They say 3 weeks. They say like 6 weeks.
Say like 6 weeks.
Week and a half, you're good.
Love finds a way. Yeah, but that I mean, it was already great.
Yeah.
But that just went to another level.
I went to work the next day. Well, we had work the next day. And I remember the teacher in the classroom next to me, she looked at me and she goes, "You're glowing." You guys, I know.
Everybody knew what
Everybody knew. Some people didn't know. But most people were starting to be like, what's going on here? Like clocking in together, clocking out together, driving together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it was good. It was really good. So that's February. We consider that our anniversary, February 17th, Michael Jordan's birthday. Works out well every year. Right before that, Valentine's Day. Valentine's Day, there was actually no intimacy. No,
Valentine's Day was kind of a little, it wasn't it?
Yeah.
It was like the 17th was our day.
Yeah. Valentine's Day was like you hit a breakfast ball off the tee and you need a mulligan.
We needed a reason.
You didn't warm up. I remember I had gotten you flowers. You had asked to like
They had fallen over in your car.
Right. I was nervous on my way to go pick you up. Almost ran the red light.
Why were you so nervous?
I don't know.
I don't know why either, because we had built so much intimacy and connection, but there was something about that day, like almost like how people put so much pressure to make it so great and improving and like, I want you to know that I like you, but I was like, I don't know. I remember talking to my mom about it. Whatever. And being like, how do I show somebody like a man, and how do I show them that I really like them, I'm in love with them, like you don't get them a stuffy, you don't get them flowers. And she was like, her and I came up with chocolate covered strawberries. And I was broke as fuck, and so I didn't have money, and I was like, I could take them to dinner and do chocolate covered strawberries. And I had a gift card from Christmas to go to a Mexican food restaurant. And so
Shout out Manuel's.
shout out to Manuel's. We went there, and I was like, God, please let everything we order be within this gift card limit because we're fucked.
Why were you paying for the fucking meal?
I don't know why any of this happened the way it did.
I had an intention of that, but you were like assertive almost that you wanted to.
It was a very proving.
Yeah.
I wanted to show you that again, another thing of me trying to show you that I really liked you and loved you was like, I don't know, I did it a couple times where I was assertive and paid.
Yeah.
I did it that time, and I did it one time when we went out with your friends at the bar, and I bought them drinks.
Finally, I had to put an end to it and like, stop.
Yeah. He was like, it was so funny because I went from like Fat Tuesdays to like receiving.
Yeah.
To being like, let me show you I can pay for it.
Yeah.
It was a weird energy, but
also when you showed up, so I'm out with my friends, we're watching U.S. men's national team versus Mexico at a bar, Padre Murphy's, I think, and
no, different.
This is a different time. Well, I'm gonna tell this one. So I invite her up.
No,
she comes up here. What the fuck were you wearing?
You guys, I had this Hollister bright fucking pink skort. Skort. I wouldn't say, like, I'm really gifted in a lot of things. Fashion was never one of them. I feel like I get it a lot more now because he's helped me so much.
We've worked a lot of stuff.
We've come a long way, but I really didn't get it. So I would just go to, like, name brand stores for the most part and figure out the things that they had on the mannequin because I figured that must be the in look. And I would buy it and then I would wear it. It just wasn't it.
It wasn't.
And I had flip-flops on.
And flip-flops. And one of my boys, I think you were going to the bar or something, he was like, what the fuck is she wearing? I was like, I don't know.
Oh, no, that's terrible.
I was like, that's a hot girl to be...
Wearing a skort?
Wearing that shit. But at some point when we were dating, I think after we moved in together, I was like, this has to stop. And we got rid of garbage bags full of shit. Took her to like Plato's Closet and some like consignment secondhand stores and got her a dope fucking wardrobe.
We did a whole
Started
wardrobe
getting her
change.
in different clothes for work, and it all worked out.
I had a couple good pieces for work.
You did.
Blue pants.
The blue pants were excellent all the time. Chef's kiss. Yeah, that was a time. What were we talking about?
So February.
Yeah, so February. Oh yeah, Valentine's wasn't it. She had made me these chocolate covered strawberries, brought them to work, and I'm like, oh.
No, I gave them to you at my house. You brought them to work and fed them to the kids.
Okay, she gave them to me at the house. I brought them to work so I could get rid of them because I can eat strawberries a little better now, but they make my mouth swell, my tongue swell. I'm essentially allergic to them. So I was like, oh, what a great fucking gift. Fed them to my kids at school. They loved them. They adored them. It just
you brought the kids to me to show them that they were eating them.
Yeah, it just didn't hit. I think I was nervous because I anticipated that there may be, I may be saying I love you tonight. There may be intimacy, and it wasn't it. That was not the night. It didn't work out that way.
It was 3 days later.
Yep. And
it was so much. I'm so grateful the way it happened because I felt like there was so much pressure on Valentine's Day that on the 17th it just flowed and it was so perfect.
Silly capitalist holiday just fucked us, but we were good.
We made it.
So yeah, February, things are just amazing, intimate. Some of the testing starts to stop with her a little bit. Then we get into March and spring break. Courtney has this fucking trip plan with her girls.
No.
So, first weekend of our spring break, we're dating at the time. Things are going great. Me and my girls are going to San Diego for the time. Actually, I don't know why I had money at the time, but we actually had a hotel. The girls and I used to go to San Diego a lot.
No, what was that mean?
Without a hotel. We would literally sleep in the car at the beach or in this like little marina area. Go to a place that we don't talk about anymore because they're not good to their animals. Go to the beach and have a time. But we literally made it work to be able to still go on vacations when I didn't have money for hotels. Whatever reason though, we had some money for a hotel that weekend. So the girls and I go. Courtney goes to Vegas with her 3 girlfriends.
They were all teachers. I'd gone to college with them to be teachers.
And
I had $50 and I came back with, I think, $45.
why?
Because I got everything comped and paid for. Yeah, I knew how to receive.
Which to a certain degree, I was like, that's amazing. That's dope. I love that about her. But also, especially with like some old traumas and things around me, like I had been cheated on, I'd been left. Things have happened when they'd gone on trips, and she has some of these outfits, and now they wouldn't be anything, but for what you had back then,
yeah,
like these are probably the 2 best pieces you had in your whole fucking closet. One of them especially, again, not that big for you are now, but it was incredibly revealing.
Incredibly revealing. It's like a little piece of fabric, one covers each side and around the bottom. It's not a whole lot going on.
Yeah, and I don't know if you brought it up to me or if I actually initiated it. But I was like, I'm probably not comfortable with you wearing that and going out in Vegas. And she did it anyways.
Yeah.
What were you thinking?
I was thinking, I don't know, that you'd be alright. You'll be alright, babe. I guess I think a part of me thought maybe you weren't that serious or you hadn't seen it on me. I don't remember the full thought, but...
Yeah. To me, I had vocalized it, and it felt like you were like, fuck you, I'm going to do what I want. Which, again, something I love about you, and it really rubbed up against a lot of my trauma, but I think I expressed the disappointment or just how I felt about it, and then, but we moved on from it.
I remember, though, that night, I think I had sent you a photo of me in the dress, and you were like, I thought you weren't going to wear that. Like, I thought I had, like, vocalized something, and I was like, I'm happy to go home and change. I think that, too, was something that I might have fucked up or whatever in the beginning and still wore the dress. But I also vocalized, like, is this something that, like, I hear you, I understand you, like, and you're like, no.
Which is something I always say is a difference between what we had and what I'd had previously is that would have been, like, that would have been a blow up and it never would have got resolved in past situations, anything that was a conflict, right?
Yeah.
But with you, we just worked through it really quickly. Even though I think you were still doing some things to try to sabotage, just worked through it really quickly.
Yeah.
And that to me was like refreshing and gave me a lot of new evidence that I could have a relationship where even if there was conflict or disagreement, we could work it out together.
Right.
And that was special.
Totally. I agree.
So...
That was the, like, big moment in Vegas, was just the, like, dress thing, but other than that, like...
Yeah, I mean, you told me, like, some guys picked you guys up in limos and took you out. They were dressed up like, what was it, like, the German festival?
Yeah, the
Oktoberfest.
Oktoberfest.
And I was like, I love that for you. Like, it was a big growing part for me personally, but in our relationship, for me to feel like trust and feel considered in that because I hadn't in previous relationships. So it was actually really healing. But you get home, we spend some time together during spring break. I think go to a Cubs game.
Yeah.
Love being able to go to a Cubs game with you.
Yep.
And then we go to Lake Havasu for St. Patty's Day.
I forgot about that too.
And then on to San Diego for our first kind of like vacation together.
Aww.
Like Havasu's fucking crazy. It's wildly racist. It is one of the worst places ever. But was a good spring break place back then. You had lots of ASU kids there. We had some fun at the little channel.
A lot of girls in
was.
pasties. I wasn't super familiar with that at the time in my life.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, this is an experience. Like, people just drunk on boats all tied up, and I lived a very naive life, minus MTV Spring Break taught me some things.
Right. It was kind of like getting to live that for the first time. I'd been down to Rocky Point for spring break and things like that, but that was wild. It was interesting.
Yeah.
And then the local racism mixed into everything, which is fucking wild. But then we went to San Diego, have a great time there. Do we have a hotel?
Yeah, we stayed at the, it was like
Hotel Circle?
No, I think we did initially, and then we decided we wanted to extend one day. And we stayed in something we found on the side of the road.
That was also the trip that my debit card got canceled while we were there.
Yeah.
Because I traveled and they didn't recognize where I was using my stuff at. So luckily I had the school's fucking gas card.
We used mine. We swiped mine and we were like, well, if this doesn't work, we got the school's debit card.
Almost weren't able to get back from fucking California.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's March. Moved through March. April is when you finally get introduced to the girls. It was a Saturday.
Yeah, I so remember this.
I had a football match. I was playing in a co-ed league in El Mirage, which you actually started playing in eventually. But you came, my girls were there. I had all my girls that weekend. I had a number of them. My mom and my aunt and other parts of the family were there, and everyone met you. We went to pizza and stuff afterwards, and then you came back to the house.
Yeah.
And I remember we're hanging out with all the girls, and what were you doing with them?
We were sitting, the part that I remember so vividly is the girls, they're like, was 4, 5? In your bed.
4, possibly 5 at the time, though.
In his bed, and him and I are sitting on the floor talking, and
4 or 5 girls in my bed's very different now than it was back then. These are sweet little girls.
Sweet little girls. They, you know, like, I knew immediately that they loved me because they had so much that they wanted to say and tell me and all these things. And so we're sitting on the floor, and Nick falls asleep in my lap, and I just stayed up, like, chatting with them and having them show me all the things.
Which for me was such a moment because seeing you interact with them was like, oh, my heart exploded. Like, it was everything. From when I went through my divorce, like, there was a long period of time. I was suicidal. I was depressed. I didn't think that I would ever get to have that with a partner and a family ever again.
Yeah.
And so to have that in that moment and see the confirmation of it was just overwhelming. And like I never used to sleep. So the fact that I could like pass out felt like somebody is there, because I was so used to doing that alone. Yeah. Somebody is there and I have somebody with me, and I don't even remember falling asleep. I just passed out.
Yeah.
And
you finally had the moment.
It was amazing to experience that and to experience that with you.
I loved it. It's so vivid in my mind. Like, it felt like so right.
Yeah. So then, I think it's April, my lease is ending.
Yeah.
And you're living in this kind of, it's a decent condo. It's like a 3-story condo. You have a garage entrance. You went up to like the kitchen and living room.
Living room.
And then up to the
2 bedrooms.
2 bedrooms.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
washer and dryer in it. It was a gorgeous place.
Yeah. But it's very early on in our relationship. It's very early on in our relationship. And I remember we were in your classroom one day talking, and I was like, I need to kind of figure out what I'm going to do. Financially, it was really hard for me to sustain the 1-bedroom apartment I was living in at the time. And
I thought you were making a ton of money as... I thought he was doing...
Come to find out, she's making more than I am.
As a first-year teacher, I was like, oh, I know I'm at, like, the bottom of the barrel, and you've worked there for a while, you're an administrator, like, you gotta be doing quite well. I was way off.
They weren't paying me shit. Wonderful school, did wonderful things for the kids, paid absolute dick. And there was a time where I was on a teacher salary, and 2008 recession happens. Lots of districts don't have money. They start pulling kids out. First one to go is me. And I go from making essentially like 18 an hour back to making, I think, less than 9 an hour.
Oh my God.
And so toward the end of my divorce, before I got that promotion again, and we'd open up this other campus, I was taking a van route. So I'd start at like 5:30 a.m., go and pick kids up, take them to school, work all day at the school, van route after school, and then wasn't done, then would either go to Bed Bath & Beyond and work a closing shift there, or I'd go to a group home and work there. And I did that essentially 5 days,
so much.
5 days a week, and then I worked at either Bed Bath & Beyond or Bed Bath & Beyond and the group home on the weekends. It was awful. It was an awful time, but it's it's what I had to do to be able to make ends meet. I was still trying to work on the marriage at that time, but I wasn't seeing my girls. It was awful. But yeah, I wasn't even when I got the promotion, I wasn't making shit.
No. And the way that they would write out the contracts, I remember when I got my first contract, I was like, oh my God, I'm making $52,000. But it was like, your insurance and what we contributed to it. Like, it's not actually income that I ever saw.
Yeah. They make it seem like you're getting a lot more than you are.
And I'm like, subtract at least $20,000 from that I never saw.
I think they would factor in there too what they would pay toward your 401k or your retirement, but you didn't make enough money to actually set that shit aside.
No, it was bad.
And depending on if you took your contract over 9 months or 12 months, if you took over 12 months, like those less you're getting all the time. I always took mine over 9 months, and then I just had to work the summer.
We'd always wing it in the summer. Yeah, it was crazy.
So we get to this point, and I'm like, what do you think about moving in together? And I was worried about what you would say. I honestly didn't know. Like,
really?
And you were like, yeah, let's do it. So I think it's maybe like a couple weeks later, and I talked to my girls about it, and everything's happening really fast.
Really fast.
A lot of pushback from my ex-wife around it. It was tough. It was hard. But so the girls and I and Minnie move in with you and Brody and Stella. It was wonderful. And yeah, it was wonderful to have that dynamic in that.
I helped him move in. I remember like clearing out your place.
Yeah. I remember right after we moved in too, Minnie got the shits from something. I don't know what it was.
Oh my God. I had 3 sets of stairs. One from the garage to the 2nd floor, and then from the 2nd floor to the 3rd floor. And she had diarrhea up like all of them. Like every floor. All the stairs. And I come home and I was like, oh my God. And like having to go to the store and get things. But we weren't there very long. Before I got evicted. Essentially, Brody, the dog that needed tick dipped, he was very, he wasn't all there. He had parvo as a baby, and they didn't think he would survive. And then once he did, they were like, if he does, he's just not gonna like be all there. And so I got a call one day that Brody was standing on the balcony trying to jump off, and from the 2nd floor, and some lady who lived there was trying to like coax them back into the patio. He was never hurt. He did get down, but I was evicted for having dogs when I did not tell them I had dogs.
So you weren't supposed to have dogs.
Right.
So we were really careful after that.
I couldn't afford to have dogs, and that was my reason for hiding them.
Right. You couldn't pay the deposit and then the additional rent and all that. Understandable. So we were really careful about only taking them out at certain times, making sure nobody saw us. And then she gets this eviction notice and is like, what the fuck? Like, I know nobody's seen us with them. Like, we're far from the office. We stay away from that. And they say that they have a photo of her boyfriend walking Brody, this guy with a ponytail. Not fucking me, not Brody, not any of that. I never
saw the photo that they said they had.
They claimed that they had, right. We went to court. We tried to fight it.
They were awful in court.
Yeah.
Actually went to court against them, which still blows my mind. To be honest, what I think that they really evicted me for was when I first moved into this complex, I had originally picked out a different condo. Moved into it, and I was like, I really don't like the floor plan. I don't know how I'd gotten into this place, but anyway, I was like, I don't like it. I actually want the other one. And they're like, no problem. Just move on over to the other one. Well, I had already turned on electricity for the first one that I had moved into. And then when I switched over, because they have to keep electric on in the places because of the refrigerator and the different things still have to have some electricity, I never had it from the first apartment, moved over to the second one. So for 9 months in Arizona, they were paying my electric bill. And so I think that they were actually figured out that they were paying my $300, $400 electric bill every month, and were like, we have no option but to evict this girl.
Yeah. And that went on your record. It was
in court. The agreement that we made was that I was going to...
We were going to leave.
We were going to leave. Was I going to pay something? I think I was going to pay them,
I think they asked for like a minimal amount. Yeah, like a... last month's rent or something.
I think I was supposed to pay them $1,500. And the agreement was I would pay them and leave, and the eviction wouldn't go on my credit. I don't even remember if I paid him. Did I pay him?
No, because they billed us way more than what we had agreed to in court. And they put that shit on your...
And they put it on my credit.
Yeah. So,
it's no longer there anymore. It's been over 7 years.
So we've just moved myself and the girls into this place, and now we've been evicted, us and the 3 dogs. But actually, it all worked out really well. Yeah, we found this amazing house in the area that we really wanted to live in, Marley Park in Surprise, Arizona.
Yeah. It was beautiful.
It was a wonderful house, wonderful community, lots of parks. There was a community pool that was gorgeous that we loved going to.
It was more space too.
Yeah.
It was great.
So we ended up moving into that in, is that May? May or into beginning of June? I think that maybe end of May.
Yeah.
We moved into that, and that was our first real
place
home together. Actually ended up being the place that we brought Trey home to. Yeah. So June that year, Courtney starts playing actually in this co-ed soccer with us.
League.
Absolutely killing it. I knew she was fast, and I knew she had played in high school and shit, but killing people. And in that league, girl goals were worth 2 goals.
Double, yeah.
So we're just absolutely destroying people. And I think maybe it's her third game probably.
Was it? I thought I played more than that.
I don't think you made many matches.
I didn't make many appearances before my career retired.
So in this third, fourth, fifth maybe match, this guy who is actually now the ex-husband of one of our assistants.
Yep.
Goes in on a tackle on Courtney, something you should never do in a co-ed league like that on a girl. And Courtney basically flips over and tears her ACL.
Yeah. I felt it. I knew it immediately and rolled onto my belly and was like, fuck. Like, I heard it pop. And then you ran and picked me up.
Yeah.
And I remember standing on the sidelines and being like, this thing feels a little like a spaghetti noodle, but I'm sure it's fine.
Yeah.
I even threw in the ball. And we drove home.
Kobe shot a free throw with the ruptured ACL. Courtney threw the ball with him.
I threw in the ball. And he was like, do you need to go to urgent care in the hospital? I was like, I think I'm good. Like, I can walk on it. No big deal. Woke up in the morning and my knee and my ankle, were just massive. Went to urgent care and he shook my knee a little bit and goes, you need to see a surgeon. Turns out that I had no ACL left.
So that's middle of June?
Yeah.
Ish. Toward the end of June. And then, not a few days later, we're working on getting surgery scheduled and stuff like that. I think I come home from work and on the counter is, no?
Are you talking about the pregnancy?
Yeah.
No, I picked you up from work and we went to Sonic.
Uh-huh.
And I had given you a card that said father to be or something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
With
we were having
and you wrote can't wait to meet you or something like that.
Yeah.
And had the pregnancy test.
Yep.
And so now all of a sudden, holy shit, she was on the pill. This is now my third pregnancy with somebody being on the pill.
Yeah.
Not expected, but both we were joyful about it.
Yeah.
Had told a few people. My mom knew, boss at work knew, a couple people knew about it. But you weren't going to be able to have the ACL surgery, so you have to go this whole pregnancy with no ACL, just trying to rehab and get by.
Yeah.
But very early on, we lost it.
Yeah, I miscarried very early, and by the time it started on a Friday, and couldn't get into the doctor until Monday, and it was pretty complete by that point.
Yeah.
Devastated.
Yeah. Again, because we had both been just really excited. It was a representation of the love that we had, and we hadn't really talked about kids that much, but we both wanted them. Because that was one of your things too. Was when we started dating was you didn't know if I wanted more kids because I had my own, and I actually did. It
was one of the first questions I asked him because I knew I wanted to be a mom. I've known that since I was little. And so I knew that if he didn't want more kids, that like it wasn't gonna work.
Right. It wasn't aligned. That was actually a deal breaker for you.
Yeah.
But I did, and we had just gotten really excited about this, and then it wasn't there anymore.
Yeah.
And there's another, like we talked about a lot of the adversity from evictions and drama around my ex and the girls and things like that early on. But this was really hard, and we processed it together.
Yeah.
We were there for each other.
I remember crying on the bed, and you saying something along the lines of like, you still get to have it.
Yeah.
Which was so huge for me, because I think there was a part of me that was like, will I get to have it? Like, can my body hold a baby, right? Like a lot of questions that women have.
Yeah.
And so there was a part of me that was like really questioning myself in that moment.
And I just had this sense of like, this is how it's meant to be. Like, the silver lining in it all was you got to then have the ACL surgery.
Yeah.
You got to recover. Didn't actually get to recover a whole lot before you got pregnant again.
Yep.
But
on the pill again.
Yeah.
I don't know what kind of pill I'm taking, but I'll find out so that you know not to take it.
But yeah, we found peace in it, and we bonded and connected and felt so close to one another. Again, her rawness and her vulnerability and the way she felt everything so deeply and completely was just like, it was just my heart just sank every time, but also felt so connected to you because of how deeply you felt stuff.
Yeah.
It was new for me to experience that, but it was really beautiful. So
that summer was really tough for me though. So I ended up having ACL surgery in July. And the doctor put me on a painkiller that was new on the market that was also an antidepressant. And having ADHD, I can't take things that are for antidepressants. It does the opposite for me, and I became extremely depressed within a few days. And even
I didn't tell her that it had a deep antidepressant component to it. It's called like Nucynta or something like that.
Yeah.
And yeah, you were.
I was in a really hard place. There were other things going on too that didn't help. I was watching garbage TV all day.
You were alone all day.
I was alone all day.
I had to go to work.
I was still trying to process our relationship and the exes. And there was some I remember you digging through the file to find court paperwork and being triggered by you still had your marriage license, which I understand. But in that moment, I didn't process it. And I'm like, why do you still have that? And I think it was a combination of these meds that I'm on. I also was pretty helpless. I was in an ankle to hip pretty much cast, couldn't walk, and so I felt like I lost mobility, my ability to take care of myself. I'm not able to process things. I'm at home by myself. It was all these things at once put me in a really not great place.
We just lost.
We lost the pregnancy.
Yeah. It was a lot. And I remember I didn't know how to support you. I was just going to in any way that I could. And I remember checking in on you. I remember texting your friends and being like, hey, can you go hang out with her? My mom to go hang out with you while I was at work. His mom was wonderful because she would come pick me up and we would go to rehab together 3 days a week. And that was when her and I really... Shout out Dr. Dunn, Dr. Dre. Yes. It was a moment for us, that's the time that we really bonded because we would be in the car together 30, 40 minutes each way. She was rehabbing her back, I'm rehabbing my knee. And we would have these conversations in the car and it was just, and we'd go to lunch sometimes afterwards and it was just such a magical moment. Yeah. And you got off those meds when we figured out what they were doing and that helped. I remember though, I did have the knowledge that I was in a really dark place. And even considering hurting myself dark place. And I remember telling the physical therapist as she was working on my knee, and I was like, I just want you to know this is where I'm at right now. Mm-hmm. And you were aware, and we talked to the doctor about it, and he was like, oh yeah, the meds are actually antidepressant. And I was like, God bless. But we got through it. And again, through each of these like moments of adversity and difficult times, we just connected and bonded even deeper. So we get through the summer. We start the new school year. Interesting to start a school year, thinking about how far we've come in 1 year.
Yeah.
A year before that, you had been engaged. A year before that, we just had met.
Yeah.
Things had really like escalated a lot. So in September, one of our friends, one of your employees, is having a dinner at Makayo's in Phoenix.
Yep.
Courtney has a number of margaritas, and
I had one, he had one, and then I was like, let's do another round. And he was like, I gotta drive. And so it turned into him having one, me having 3.
Yep. And got pregnant that night.
Yeah.
With baby Trey.
Yeah.
Our rainbow baby. It was, we were not planning that at all.
Still on the pill.
But within a couple weeks, kind of knew that you were...
We knew. I was so sick with Trey that I was like hungover almost every day, throwing up every morning, and it was pretty obvious. But the school is still kind of new to finding out, like, we're dating and stuff like that, and it's, like, people know, but it's still not. It's like, in a school, you have to keep things very political and professional, and so I'm throwing up every morning and going into my classroom, like, trying to pretend that I'm not pregnant or drunk. Yeah.
It was a lot.
It was a lot.
Did you ever consider the fact that the miscarriage may happen again?
Yes, I was worried about that, and I remember thinking, God, give me a sign that this baby's going to be okay. And we had gone to the first appointment, and I had missed school that day. And not even because... The appointment was like afternoon, 1-2 p.m., so I could have absolutely gone to school and then come in late. But I think I was so nervous to get to the doctor's office and then saying, like, something's wrong or there's not actually anything there, which is what happened the first time. That I think I'd made myself sick all day. And so I'm like... I remember I had, like, a Home Depot bucket in the passenger seat with me to, like, throw up. And got to the appointment, and they're like, baby is great. And I remember that first photo, I thought, wow, this baby looks like a pterodactyl. Like, it just looks like a dinosaur. And it's still early on, like 4 weeks or something. And I remember thinking, God, give me a sign that this baby's going to be okay. And so one of the girls, we'd gone to Sonic, and one of them in their kids' meal had gotten a pterodactyl toy. And that was my sign. I remember thinking, okay, that's it. Like, I know that this baby's okay. I got my sign. I still think I made myself sick because people always told me that if the baby is healthy, you'll be sick. And so I think I logically made myself sick every day so that I could make sure that the baby was okay.
Yeah, but Trey was great. I don't think I ever had a worry or concern about it, which, I mean, probably should have, having just experienced that. But
there was a different energy about it.
Yeah, it was just solid. Like, and I think we were so clear about the fact of, like, it's just the timing of this one isn't right with the ACL and all that. And everything just felt normal and natural about this.
Yeah.
Telling people and telling the girls was a journey.
We waited a long time. Yeah. So I conceived in September. We didn't tell them until Christmas.
Yeah. And you were showing pretty good.
I was showing pretty good. I'd gone to Hawaii. For family Christmas vacation.
Which I was not invited to. Everybody else's partners, girlfriend, boyfriend, husband, whatever, got to go on this. I was not invited. She was carrying our child, and I was not invited.
They said it was like a fiance rule, like you had to be engaged to attend the family trip, but whatever.
You remember, too, prior to that, Courtney had an Android phone.
Oh, I did, you guys.
And
my God.
I took her and got her a iPhone, her first iPhone, so that we could FaceTime while she was in Hawaii, because we'd never been separate. We'd never been apart.
Yeah. So we didn't tell the girls about the pregnancy for a little while. I think the biggest reason was the exes.
Yeah.
We weren't sure how that was going to go over, and I think if you've ever co-parented, you try and limit things that'll cause riots or chaos or people to be upset. And so we limited it, and then come Christmas, I was showing pretty good. And it just was time.
Yeah. And it didn't go over well. There was a lot of shit I had to deal with that I tried to protect Courtney from. It was messy, but we got through it. Christmas was interesting being apart.
It was hard.
Yeah, it was hard being away. It was really the first time that we had ever been away, but you had a great time in Hawaii. I had a great time with the girls. But yeah, we always had fun. We built great memories together. Once it was out, it felt like a big relief, even though I was getting attacks and issues all the time. It felt like a great relief.
I knew things weren't good and you were being attacked, but I don't think you ever really shared the amount of...
Yeah. One of it was protecting you, for sure. The other was just how a lot of us men are conditioned is to kind of like deal with it in private, like not letting anybody else know what's going on or what you're struggling with. And I mean, it definitely would have made it easier for me had I had the tools at that time to be able to talk about it, had I been able to like put boundaries in place and all those things.
Yeah.
But I just kind of like suffered in silence during that.
I'm sorry.
But you were great. There were things that obviously triggered you about that situation, and where you felt unsafe, and a lot of growing pains, a lot of things we didn't know how to deal with, didn't have a template for, didn't have guidance in.
Yeah.
But we got through it. The great thing was though is we had such a wonderful family unit,
Yeah.
and you had a great pregnancy.
I did.
We had wonderful support and people around us. Had a wonderful. Baby shower, and then it was June 3rd, 2012.
The last day of school was it June 2nd or June 3rd? I think it was June 3rd.
No, it was the 2nd.
It was the 2nd.
Yeah.
Okay, so last day of school, June 2nd, we decide to go to the movies to see
Let me say too, Courtney worked her entire pregnancy. She was in the classroom with violent children, 8-9 months pregnant, and not just that, her closest staff member, her assistant, was also delivered like a couple weeks
2 weeks before
you.
Yeah.
So these two very pregnant women, very violent children, like gave people concussions, sent people to the hospital.
Yeah.
Sometimes I would walk in and they would be having to physically restrain a child that was out of control and trying to hurt people, and both her and her assistant are on the ground helping with this.
9 months pregnant, like holding
please
around
get
our
the fuck
bellies.
up. And I would get my staff in there, a staff from another room to take over. But yeah, they were fucking, y'all were gangsters.
We were. The thing though too is that we demanded respect in our classroom, and it didn't mean that we always got it.
Yeah.
But there was an energy within our classroom that I think for the most part was a very like, we respect you, because the students always knew that like, I love you, I want to protect you, I want to take care of you, like I'm creating these boundaries for you for your safety.
Yeah.
And that energy was always known, and I think for the most part they respected that, and I think even for the most part they understood what a pregnancy was. Whether they logically did, like the energy of it that they could feel.
Yeah.
And so there was never an incident where anyone went after my belly or her belly or anything like that. Like I always felt very safe.
Yeah. Yeah, you were a gangster. So
worked all the way through.
And so we get to June, we have the last day of school, get through that. Like that was the hope, was like, because financially, you didn't get maternity leave or anything like that.
And I think I had used a lot of PTO for doctor's appointments and ACL rehabs and different things like that I was pretty much out of PTO. Yeah. Also, you can use your PTO and cash it in and get some money. So anything that wasn't used, and you could, I think at that time you could transfer it. Like I could give it to you or whatever. And so we were trying to like save all that we could.
Yeah. I actually, after Trey was born, I think I only had like 1 day off of work, and then I went back to work, which is fucking crazy.
Terrible.
But anyway, so we get to the second, school ends on the 3rd. What do we do? We're going to see Avengers.
Yep, the new Avengers.
With Jalen.
Yep.
So it must have been was that a Saturday?
Yeah.
I think it was a Saturday. We go to see the Avengers. We'd gone in previously, right, because you thought you might be pregnant? Or was that night?
No, I had started leaking a small drip. And I always remember them telling, like, get a little pad, and if you wet through the pad, then come in. And so we ran by Walgreens on our way, grabbed some candy and some pads for me, and sat through the whole movie, and I had wet the pad. And so on our way home, we take Jalen to our mom's house and go check into the hospital. And I'm having contractions and I'm leaking fluid, and they test the fluid and they're like, this is not your water, this is just another fluid. And I was like, okay. And so they send us home around 2, 3 in the morning. And then I wake up around 5 a.m. and just like a puddle. And my first thought was, oh my God, I was so tired that I like wet the bed. I can't believe I wet the bed. And so I get up, Nick is like passed out. I get up and walk over, and just like more, it's like gushing. And I was like, okay, that's definitely not pee. Like, that is my water. And so I put on some shorts, soaked through the shorts, put on a bikini, because I was like, what do you do when you're just like constantly wet? You just put on a swimsuit. Woke up Nick, and we headed to the hospital. Yep. I was wearing a swimsuit because like that felt right.
Yep. And baby Trey was born later that day.
Yep.
Courtney was a fucking G, was pushing, like, got really competitive. When the doctor challenged her, she fucking bared down and went after it and pushed out a...
Once I figured out how you push, not in your face, but through your vagina.
Yeah.
Solid.
Killed
Got
it. Yeah, and we had Trey. Got to bring him home. Had just such a beautiful little family unit there already. Had a wonderful summer. I think we took Trey to Disneyland.
Yeah, 6 weeks old.
6 weeks old. I don't even know how we afford. I think maybe I'd set some money aside from...
Don't forget, we would get our student loans.
We kept going to school, so we would get the big student loans and Pell Grants and all that shit, and that's what we used to like have anything above and beyond, and sometimes just to have...
It was survival.
Things met.
Also, we went and got to school because we thought we would make more money with like a master's degree.
Yeah.
It doesn't.
It did not
But we were grateful for the student loans that we could live off of at that time.
It helped. I had a great summer. Then we come around toward the end of summer and the next school year starting. Went through the whole thing of like finding daycare for Trey.
Yeah.
Holy shit, that was expensive. Basically like taking most of my paycheck to pay for that.
I always think about the movie Mrs. Doubtfire when they're looking for somebody to come take care of the kids. And I asked Nick, I was going to like interview some people and go to houses, and I was like, what are the things like you think I should look for, look at? And I think you said something about somebody who smokes and watches Fox News.
Somebody smokes and watches Fox News all day?
Is a deal breaker.
Absolutely fucking not.
And so the first house I walk into, the woman, I don't think she smoked, but I think she had like a lot of incense going, which that's not my personal thing. And like no other kids there, just like I don't even know, a sterile environment, which just wasn't great. Fox News playing, and I was like, that's it, like this is
absolutely
done.
Fucking not.
Yeah.
Yeah. But we actually found a wonderful lady who my nephew had gone to when he was younger. Yeah. And so she had Trey for the first year. Dropping him off at there and leaving him for the first time was tough. Man. I was used to going to work, but Courtney always had him, right? Or we had maybe gone on a couple dates and my mom had him.
Mom had him.
Nobody else. Nobody else had ever watched him, so that was fucking stressful. But we start the new school year, and we start talking about having another one. And I'm like, I really want them to be close in age. My girls are like 19, 20 months apart. They're wonderful. They're best friends. I just love that.
Yeah.
But we're also like, having Trey in summer was really a blessing because you're not missing work. You took your contract over 12 months anyways.
Yeah.
I will obviously have to work, but we got to have him in the summer. And so we kind of do the math and we realize, holy shit, that's like...
this weekend.
We got to conceive now. So we're like, okay, so Courtney stops the pill. This is the only planned child we have out of the 5 pregnancies, 4 kids. And she gets pregnant
that weekend.
Yeah.
So essentially another pill baby, if you break it down. I stopped like on a Wednesday and was pregnant by the weekend. So essentially probably another pill baby. But a little planned.
I've had a vasectomy since, so
no worries.
Sorry about that. If anybody wanted to buy or worried about us having another, it's not happening.
No.
But so she gets pregnant with Nugget. Another good pregnancy.
Yeah.
A lot easier than the first, I think.
Yeah.
In terms of like the morning sickness and stuff like that.
Wasn't sick. Only if I ate teriyaki.
Yeah, Nugget did not like teriyaki. So we go through that year. It's another good school year. And then Nugget is born June 15th, 2013, like a year and what?
2 weeks.
Yeah, basically a year and 2 weeks after Trey.
Yeah.
Trey was a tank. He was like that failure to thrive baby afterwards, though. He wasn't...
Born a tank, but yeah, failure to thrive.
Wasn't gaining weight. He's always been the most difficult one, hands down. Didn't sleep, didn't know how to self-soothe. Courtney was wonderful. Like, Courtney went completely vegan because we had kind of ruled out a lot of other things and figured out
soy free too, which was so difficult.
Yeah, he had some like dairy intolerance. So Courtney went full vegan, and was feeding the fuck out of that baby, got him thriving, got him good. And that summer was a lot better than previous ones. It was really hard to have a whole family at home and have to go to work and all that shit.
Yeah.
I think in a lot of those moments, it was planting seeds for me to be doing what I do now, which was because I didn't feel like I had freedom to be able to spend time with my family and do the things that I wanted. Plus, like the girls would have events at school and I wouldn't be able to leave. And we had a wonderful principal and someone who was very supportive of that at one point. And another principal that was a fucking cunt. I'd punch you in your face right now. Wouldn't let me leave the shit. We had this like weird adjustment where the kids couldn't go to school as early as they had. So I remember talking to him and being like, hey, I'm going to be like 10 minutes late. I'll be 10 minutes late every day because I can't drop my girls off before this certain point. But I can stay later. I can stay 10 minutes later, 20 minutes later.
And
the kids aren't even at the school yet. We have to get there like hours before the kids even arrive.
Right.
And he's like, no, that won't work for us. You're going to have to figure it out. And
such a dick. There's no kids. You're there by yourself just sitting in the classroom doing paperwork. Like, it was so...
It took everything in me not to reach over that fucking desk, big, nice oak desk, and drag his ass out of that fucking office and beat the hell out of him.
Still feel that way to you.
Fuck you, Garen.
It's like, are we going to say it? We're going to say it. Fuck you.
Cunt. Anyways.
Sorry to see you go.
Yeah. So, we, actually, I quit that year.
Yeah, that's why I said that, because we both walked in and quit to him, and he's like, well, sorry to see you go.
No, but you hadn't quit yet. This was later.
Later,
so
I quit to him.
That summer, and I'm like, okay, I can't do this anymore. We actually had the idea that I would stay home with the kids.
Yeah.
And
I made more, which is still crazy.
I would...
He had a master's.
Yeah, because we started to think about how much it would be to have 2 kids in daycare. And I'm like, it literally doesn't make fucking sense to work. Like, we're going to be paying to go to work. Like, my whole salary is going to be a wash for daycare. So we start out the year, and I stay home with the boys. Holy shit, that was crazy. Because they're barely newborns now. Or Trey's 1, he's a newborn. And I'm applying for jobs, trying to get like online counseling gigs out of these colleges and shit. And like, I can't get a second interview. Like, it just is not fucking working out. So, at the time, and the reason why I left too was our principal was going back to the original campus, the main campus. I had been fed this idea that they didn't have anyone in the pipeline to be the next principal when a new school opened up or opportunity work opened up. So I went and got my master's. I remember I was writing papers while you were in the hospital with Trey delivering. Yeah. I was writing papers. I got a 4.0. I got my master's from Arizona State in a year and a half doing all online school. And so I applied for this principal job. Granted, if we're honest about it, I did not want it. But it's what, there was a part of me that wanted it because of the salary. We would be making more money. And we built something really good on this campus. And I didn't want to see that go to shit. I wanted, it was just a natural fit. I had relationships with all the districts. I basically run the school and everything that the principal didn't do, right? We'd run it basically together. And I applied for this, I interview, and I don't get it. And a lot of people at the campus were upset. They're like, what the
It was
fuck?
bullshit.
Yeah.
It was bullshit, not even just from a bias, but who they gave the position to was somebody who had never once stepped foot on the campus, knew nothing about our students, our staff, the districts who were paying, knew nothing.
Yeah.
And so it didn't make any sense.
Yeah.
And the school fell apart.
Cheers.
I stayed another year and worked under this new principal.
And it was a disaster.
The worst year of teaching of my life. She was awful. It was a she. Sorry.
Yeah, they offered me things to stay. They're like, well, you could stay and kind of stay in your own position. And I'm like, fuck you. You want me to stay after you've essentially groomed me for this position and then given it to someone else? I remember my principal's like, hey, come up here. So I go in his office and he's like, I got to give them an answer. I was like, you can tell them to suck my fucking dick. Deliver that however you want to, but that's my answer. And I finished out the school year, obviously, because I always fulfill my obligations. And I was done. And yeah, it was a fucking disaster. People were begging me to come back.
Bad. It was so bad. And it was almost like they didn't understand the population of kids and the well-being of the community. Like, it was like everything was crumbling.
Yeah.
Really bad.
Had I been given that, we wouldn't have missed a beat.
The culture was crumbling, the well-being, the respect and dignity of teachers and staff. It was all a disaster.
Yeah. But I mean, it happened in a good way for me.
Yeah.
So
it was a blessing.
Yeah. So I don't know, maybe like October. I go in just to say hi to our old principal at the new campus, see my people that were there. And he's like, hey, come here. And I was like, okay. He's like, we need a teacher. He's like, we have a daycare here. What do you think? I was like, okay, hold on. I was like, I actually like the idea of still working under you. Fuck the administration. And I like the idea of having a daycare. And literally my kids, it's crazy that we had a daycare on this campus because the kids were so dangerous. But even like the most dangerous kids, the high school kids, were wonderful with the infants and the babies in the daycare.
I told Trey the other day that one of my students, that if she had a good day and wasn't aggressive, that she would get to take Trey out of the daycare and feed him snacks and read him stories. But they were so wonderful with the kids, always.
Yeah.
And it was such a privilege and a thing that it really felt like a win-win. Trey, the boys were really little, so they didn't fully remember it, but they loved to being able to come into mom and dad's classrooms.
Yeah.
And the kids really loved being able to earn that time to read to a kid or spend time with a little kid and being kind of that mentor. And it really was wonderful.
Yeah, it was great to have them there, to be able to check on them at any point during the day. Every time I walked in my classroom, I'd go and look in the window and see what they were doing.
And their staff, the people who ran the kids club, the little daycare,
yeah,
phenomenal.
Yeah, great people. And I would, lunch, I'd sometimes go in and steal them and hang out with them, so.
And they would have animal therapy, and so they got to, get exposed to all these different animals and donkeys and pigs and geese.
I did not expect to be going back to teaching. I really felt like I was done, but that felt like a win to me, so I went back. And on that campus, Courtney was still on the other one, suffering under this horrible leadership, begging to come to this one. She eventually did the next year.
I finished out my year at that campus.
But yeah, I taught there, and the boys went with me, and it was actually a really great experience. Courtney finishes out the year at that campus, come back, so it's like 2014?
Yeah.
2014, 2015 year. Now we're both at the other
Same
campus
again.
The kids are in the daycare. It's actually really great.
Yeah. It was a good year.
Then we get to like Christmas time, and right before winter break, they inform us that they're getting rid of the kids care.
Bad move.
Bad move. At the time, the economy had picked up really well, and they were getting tons of kids, and honestly it came down to like a money thing, because they didn't make money off the daycare, but if they took that room and turned it into another classroom, then you have 15 kids at whatever each kid was paying per day.
$160 per kid.
It was a money decision.
It was huge money.
And so once again, I was in a position, not where they had just fucked me over, but my kids love going there. Our kids just had so much joy out of it. Everyone
they were so
did.
excited.
And it's one thing if you fuck me over, when you fuck my kids over. So again, I told them, suck my fucking dick. I will finish out the school year because it's who I am. But we found someone lovely, a friend of my mom's, a friend of our family who lived by my mom in El Mirage. But it was great. They were taken care of. They had a great experience there. But it wasn't the same as having them there.
Two things happened too that were pretty that was a nail in the coffin, but there was one other thing that happened. I was working on I graduated with my master's degree at this point and had decided to go full in on my PhD. For a couple reasons, we can talk about that at a later date. And the president of the school pulled me aside and said, Courtney, we are so excited and so happy for you going for your PhD, but we will not be paying you for that. So it was like the kids care, and you're not going to compensate me any more money for having even more education.
And it wasn't just a title too. There were things that benefited the school and the company by you being a PhD, by you being able to sit in meetings as a doctor. Like, there was such a benefit to it, and the fact that they're like, but we're not going to pay you.
And my PhD was in behavioral health, which is a huge area. That's what the school is.
Yeah. Like, they could have billed for more things having her there or in meetings or part of being able to deliver things. Like, there were so many benefits to it. It was the sleaziest and cheapest move besides canceling the daycare.
I remember going into Garen's office and saying, if you aren't going to compensate me and you're not going to bring back the childcare, then I'm done here and this will be my final year. And he said, oh, we're sorry to see you go, but
fucking goofball.
But know that this is the fuck that I was like, fuck you, I will never come back. Was when they would always be like, but you always are welcome back if you need to. Never have returned. You're welcome.
So I told him again, suck my dick. I'm out. That next semester was actually really fun.
We were late every single
I came in whenever I wanted to. I took care of my responsibilities always, because especially like I had respect for my principal, love and adore him. I would never fuck him over, but the rest of them, fuck you.
We'd come in like 30 minutes late, never at the impact of our students. We fulfilled all our duties and above and beyond. But yeah, fuck the rest of the school.
We would leave, not just on Fridays early, we would leave early every day.
You're supposed to stay, like, kids go home at like 2 something. You were supposed to stay till 4. We'd be like 2:45 and be like, peace, and everyone's like looking out like, you have the same obligation as all of us to be here till 4, and we're like, what are you gonna do?
It was like you had that Office Space moment where you stop fucking caring about the shit that doesn't matter. I'd take my kids out to PE. I was teaching high school at that time. I'd take them out to PE and I'd I'd usually change down. I'd put on a shirt or a tank top or whatever to go lift weights because it's outside in 120 degrees. And then I wouldn't change back in the rest of the day.
I did that on field trips. Like, you were supposed to be like fully dressed, like dresses, heels, like very nice, which doesn't make sense in that environment. And I remember going on field trips and wearing sweats and being like, that's it for me. I'm staying in this. I would get dress coded for my jeans being too tight.
the president, the CEO, they would be like taking people around on tours, and I'm teaching high school math in my fucking tank top and whatever. I also, like, all the things I ever wanted to say back to the kids, I started saying, and I'm like, I just don't fucking care. Kid would be like, fuck you, Mr. Nick. I'd be like, fuck you. And he'd be like, you can't say that to me. I'd be like, fuck you. What are you gonna do about it? I just didn't care. It was really freeing and liberating to be in that place.
Yeah.
I'm more. No, you're not gonna chew on that bone right now, so we can hear this on the podcast. Sorry, babe. But yeah, so we finished up that year, and we kept our word, and we quit.
We quit.
Nobody,
when we walked out that final day, no. We should do this. Should I give it to her?
Just give it to her out there.
Come on.
We walked out on that final day. My principal was very appreciative and blessed us. But in the past, when people had left, they got cakes and they got big send-offs and shit like that. Nothing for us. Zero. After 10 years of blood, sweat, literally blood, sweat, and tears at that place, there was nothing.
Like, even some of the, like, higher ups at the school never even, like, said goodbye, thank you, like, whatever, you didn't get us a Costco cake. But you no sheet cake. Every month they would get a Costco sheet cake for birthdays. And so no Costco sheet cake, but like, no thank you, we're sad to see you go, but thank you for all you did. Nothing.
You know what I did do though?
What?
I wrote this email.
Oh!
I said everything that everybody had ever wanted to say about specific people, about policy, about the way that people were treated, about everything.
Yeah.
And that was the last thing I did before I walked out of my classroom.
It was a brilliant email.
I hit send all, shook principal's hand, and we were out.
It was so good. And it was like genuine care for the school though. Like, it was like, we care about the staff that are still here. We care about the students. We care about a lot of people here.
We actually believe in the school's mission, and the founder who had passed away, the founder's vision and what the culture was meant to be about, and believe that they had gotten so far away from that because of financials. And I think a lot of things, from what I hear, changed for the better as a result of that. So it was a win-win.
It was good. I decided to continue on with teaching. The girls wanted to go to an art school, and to get into art schools in Phoenix, you needed to like apply, and it's this huge lottery system.
A long waiting list. And we were at that time trying to move out of West Phoenix, the West Valley Surprise area, and move toward downtown because we just wanted a better culture. It's way more progressive in that area. There's good vegetarian options down there. We wanted to be away from the, like, what became the Trump-loving West Side.
Yes.
And get toward downtown. And the girls wanted to go to this art school.
And I, again, never applied to this school, but they found my resume somewhere, and called me and said they were looking for a special ed teacher at the art school that we were looking at. I went down, applied, was offered the position, and because I would be the teacher there, the girls got to skip the lottery and immediately join. And it was in downtown Phoenix, and it felt like just such a godsend because it was like so many things that we wanted. I was going to get to go teach at the same school as the girls. The girls were going to get to go to the art school. We were going to get to move downtown. And it felt like a really big win at that time.
And after I had quit teaching, Courtney was going to continue on for another year at this art school, at least another year at that point. That was actually the beginning of the coaching business. That's where I had this idea to start doing in-person training, coaching. Life coaching wasn't really on the radar yet at that point, but it kind of been introduced. But once again, I found myself at home with the boys, but now with a different idea of what to do and what to create. And I think we're going to save the rest of that for the next episode.
I think so.
And tell you, bring you up to speed from the time that I quit teaching and we started the coaching businesses to where we are today.
And also one of the hardest years of our lives and our marriage.
Literally the only point in our marriage where it was really in jeopardy and could have ended, and what that was like and how we got through it. We'll tell you next time.
See you next time.
Thanks for tuning in. Love you guys. Bye.
Bye.